right, well, anyway, I hope you've all enjoyed your lunch, and as you continue to finish your lunch and everything else, I'd like to say a couple words about our luncheon speaker. Mel Cintron, manager of the General Aviation and Commercial Division, or as we like to acronym the division, it's the AFS 800 Division in Washington, D.C. Mel has been there a little over a year now, I believe, and it was my privilege to work with Mel as a colleague when I was in the FAA. At the time, he was the manager of the International Division, and he's since moved over into the current position. And Mel and I, of course, shared the same windowless office in Washington, D.C. And Mel's dressed it up a little bit there. I paid him a visit recently, and this is a real luxury. He brought his own espresso machine in there. And I said, yes, this is something I never had before in FAA headquarters. So that was great. So maybe I'll come visit more often. Anyway, Mel has an extensive background in both aviation safety and operations in the FAA, in industry, and in the military too. So he's actually seen some frontline positions in various types of organizations, government and private sector, and actually has had to deal with safety issues as well as operational issues simultaneously. Mel also has been in headquarters long enough to know about the political issues and has to deal with them on a daily basis. So I think what he'd like to do here today, and I'll let Mel explain it further and maybe introduce some of the FAA people here that are with us today at this front table. Mel's going to talk to you a little bit about his vision and his plan for the future and how we can work together cooperatively over the next 5 years or so, especially on safety matters. So Mel, please come up and give us a little heads up.
Thank you. I actually have a speech. I can show it to you. It's about 6 pages long, and it can take up all the time, but I don't think you're here to listen to no darn speech from me. I think it's more important that you understand who I am, what we do, and what my commitment to you is, and what commitment for us at the FAA leadership is to you. So, but before I get started, and I was actually going to save this for the end, but I will introduce some of our folks that are here today, starting with Mr. Van Kern, who is the manager of the AFS 600, and he is getting a good earful. He actually got a good earful last time when he held a meeting with industry regarding the PTS stuff and the new test and the FOIs, and maybe I'll give him a little time after here to talk about some of that. The importance of Van being here is that this is the further commitment from the FAA leadership to how we want to work this and how we want to move forward. So thank you for coming, Van, and I think it's excellent. One of my right-hand folks, Tom Glista.
Most of them know me already.
Yeah, so you know Tom. Debbie, who is the deputy for Van, there in 600, been there quite a while. The other person I really shouldn't introduce because it's almost insulting to think that somebody in here doesn't know Susan Parson. Okay, so and Susan, aside from being being the chief of staff for the secretary, for the director, and managing that front office, and being a great advisor to him. I think she works now also on a part-time basis with the administrator, writing his speeches, and more importantly, she is the glue that I need for getting information out and making sure that we have a quality product. And I'm talking about the Safety Magazine. She is the editor of the magazine, and I think everybody here at one time or another has benefited from some of the insightful articles that she writes. So welcome also. So anyway, one of the things they asked me, do I want to do a presentation and show what our 5-year strategic plan is? You might have heard of it. The administrator had a news media roundtable about a month ago, where he announced to the aviation world and the news media world the FAA's 5-year strategic plan. So this is a plan of how we plan to move forward, and I'll talk a little bit about it. I'm not going to go all in depth in it, but we will make it available to you if you want it. So when I came into 800, And I'll say this about the General Aviation Division. We manage the largest, most complex aviation system in the world, bar none, okay? I take offense when somebody says or insinuates that somehow general aviation takes a back seat to anyone. We're the foundation of this country's aviation system. We should be proud of that. I'm damn proud of it. I'm real proud to be part of that. And I think that, you know, one of the challenges, people have heard me say, the challenges I face is, how do I ensure as a regulator responsible for the safety of the American public, they pay us for that. How do I ensure that I meet that safety mandate without stifling the spirit of the American aviation, which resides here? So I think there's a way to do that. I think we can do that. So before I go into some of the other things I've heard, I'm going to talk to you about the 5-year strategic plan. And I apologize if I kind of roam a little because I gave up the speech. An interesting thing, on the way here, I stopped at one of the restaurants in the airport, and I sat down in a meeting, and it's a big table, and some gentleman comes behind me and says, I didn't even look up. He says, you mind if I sit with you? I said, no, please do. And he sat down, and he had 3 stripes on his shirt. I said, oh, you're a pilot. And he was very proud. He said, yeah. I said, wow, do you just fly for the airlines, or you do any stuff with those small airplanes and stuff? He says, yeah, I used to train and stuff, but now I'm here. I said, you know, if perchance you ever happen to run into the head of general aviation for this country, what would you tell him? What would you tell him needs to be improved? He didn't catch on. But we had a long conversation, and his first name was Ryan. And he said, because I told him in the end that I was coming to this, and he said, oh, there's a good friend of mine. But then after I told him who I was, he kind of got nervous. I said, tell you what, just so you know that I'm not going to follow up, I'm going to throw your name away. But if somebody knows a Ryan that's a first officer for one of the air carriers, he says hi. So anyway, about this time last year or earlier, I got called up to the administrator's office, to the associate administrator's office, along with my boss, the director, John Allen. And we were about 14 accidents above where we thought we should be. And this was late April, March, and they said, Mel, what are you going to do to stop this? I said, well, first, we really need to touch reality. I'm not here to stop this. That train left quite a while ago. I'm going to be fortunate to control the bleeding. However, this agency will not enter 2011 in this same position. This agency will be in a much better position because we are going to develop things that we can work with the community on, and that we can go ahead and strive to reduce the fatal accident rate. Okay? So we came up with this strategic plan. It's a 5-year non-regulatory plan. Why non-regulatory? Not because the regulations can take so long, but because we have enough regulations. We have enough regulations. And during some of this, people have asked, well, what makes you think this is going to work? Well, first of all, we implemented 1 October with many of the people that are here, and it is working. And it's working. This is a program that can only succeed because of you. I will own the failure. The failure is the me, the I. The success of this can only be the we, the us, you folks. That's the only way this can succeed. And it can only be effective in a collaborative manner. So the plan includes, for example, we say we're going to identify what are the top 10 things that are killing our folks. So we need to do data analysis. We need to identify that. And then we need to go ahead and tell the folks, here's here's the things that we see that are killing our pilots. Here's the things that we need to mitigate and get that message out. We're refocusing the FAST team. They now come under us, under 800, for national direction, and we're still fine-tuning that aspect. But they're going to be the outreach arm that we use for that. We looked at amateur builds and the big delta that there was between the hours of operation and the accident rate. So we looked at that and said, we need to do something special. We really need to concentrate on this. So we reached out to Gamma, AOPA, EAA, and a bunch of other subject matter experts, even the insurance company, and we did a tabletop FSB, okay? Flight Standardization Board type review, and they developed an advisory circular on transitioning to unfamiliar aircraft. And that is going to be a cornerstone of the success, I believe, if it gets implemented and accepted by the industry, which right now it is. And EAA is doing tremendous work at getting the message out. AOPA has stepped up to nobody has backed down from this strategic approach of non-regulatory things that we can do. The plan also includes, in its transformation of general aviation safety for this country. And that's a heck of a task. That's a heck of a task. I will tell you, I was kind of concerned in saying, well, what do I say, what do I do? Listening to the presentations this morning, I'll share something that's hard for me to talk about. When I was in Desert Storm, I was very concerned. I was a combat medic, and I was very concerned about my fellow soldiers. And they took me, I met with the general, and I said, look, I'm responsible, I'm the senior medic for this flight medevac unit, and we're going to be the ones pulling these folks out of these tanks and stuff. We don't know nothing about them. He said, well, have your team down there, we'll give you a presentation. I went, and I saw our equipment, these Abrams, that we were going to be using, and I got such a sense of relief, saying, wow, we can do this. We have the equipment for this. That was a heck of a feeling that I got. And I want to tell you, that feeling I got this morning, listening to you folks. And, you know, it's hard for me to talk about it. But I want you to know how important it is what you're looking at doing. And that we collaborate and that we move this forward. And what it made me feel. As the head of General Aviation, I'm committed to moving forward with you, okay? I think the strategic plan represents that. We're talking about changing things like the FERC. So we had FERC meeting, and the major FERC providers were there. Guess what? Their input was heard, and we went ahead and we've made the changes that was recommended to us. Why? Because I can sit in my office, and yes, I can initiate new regulations. I can go ahead and change policies. I can do all those things. I cannot, from my office, transform general aviation safety for this country. I don't care how many new regulations, how many new policies. You can. You can. And from listening to what I heard this morning, it's like, wow, these folks are inside my head. These are just the right things to do. I am so, so pleased to have been here today to listen to this. And one of the cornerstones of the plan is that we are reaching out. These first 2 years is that we're reaching out to you to tell us what is it that needs to be fixed? What is it that's not working? You know, we've talked about the FITS program. I think we need to take that to another level. I think we probably haven't been as effective as taking it to the next level. When I first got to 800, somebody said, oh, we're sunsetting that. It's already implemented. I think it's a good program, and I think we need to continue that. I'm reaching out to my colleagues, Van especially, you know, talk about PTS and stuff. I'm sorry, but he's here. Why? Because this is the way we're going to get there, with your support. You talk about training, and this is all about training. One of the things in the strategic plan is we talk about how important training is for all the initial pilots and everything. And we heard about CGARS, which I think is an excellent system. And you know that the FAA will at times work with UND by itself, work with Embry-Riddle, do the CGAR programs, but yet we've never brought academia, the collegiate academia together as a whole to talk about that training, to talk about what are the best learning methodologies, what are the best teaching practices, what works, what doesn't work, what is it that gets everybody a C, which is the course everybody takes over, why, all these things. You know what? This year, July, in Norman, Oklahoma, hosted by the University of Oklahoma, we're going to have the first ever FAA Academia Symposium. Now, the good thing is most of you are going to get that benefit because you're either tangentially involved or directly involved with that. I'm very, very excited about looking at the recommendations that's going to come out of this group, okay? And we are going to look at that. Those that have worked with me over the past year and a half, year and 3/4 that I've been in 800 will tell you, I am into accountability and meeting deliverables. I expect you to hold me accountable. You see me somewhere, if you have a magazine, you can write an article and say, you know, the head of general aviation committed to us for this. He didn't fulfill any of his tasks. I expect you to hold me accountable. That's what leadership is about. Somebody was talking to me about the strategic plan, says, geez, you know, I'm concerned. You're not going to get there. Well, you know, a good manager, my perspective, a good manager will always reach for the things that he or she can accomplish. They will always shoot. A good manager will always shoot for the things that he or she can accomplish. A good leader will always shoot beyond that. And I think that's, from what I heard this morning, that's what this group is doing. We're not being tied to any old things or status quo or any of that. I'm hearing wonderful things. Is somebody going to hit a road so I know? Because I can go forever, okay? And I apologize, you know. But, yeah. Okay, so those are some of the things that we're working with. Additionally, we're working with industry, with the associations, with AOPA, in EAA, on specific programs, such as outreach programs, training programs, such as, you know, we talked about type clubs. There's a huge benefit because of the culture of the type club members, just like the culture here. These are the folks that come to these things. They tend to have a lower accident rate than non-type club members. And I'm searching desperately because I want to get specific data on that benefit. And so if some of you have it, please provide it. But there's a huge benefit there. We need to be part of that. We need to be part of the solutions that you have that haven't come forward or something. This is not the same FAA as far as the GA community is concerned. I will tell you, John Allen, John McGraw, the director, deputy director, Peggy Gilligan, the administrator, if you look at the commitment that this leadership has to general aviation now, it's incredible. I challenge you to go look at the last 6 or 7 speeches that the administrator has made, and you're going to find general aviation in there. Okay? So that's the commitment and level of that we have in support of this. Like I said, we'll have the GA strategy available, and I can talk to you more about it. But I think it was more important that you know what the FAA, how the FAA sees general aviation today, and where we're looking to head in the future. I want to take a little bit of my time and concede it to my esteemed colleague from Oklahoma so that he can say a couple words. But like I said, the leadership is here with you. Hold us accountable, and let's collaborate and work together to minimize the fatal accident rate. And it might sound morbid to you, but this is how important it is to me personally. I have the names of everyone that has been killed in a fatal accident in GA since I took over, because it is a serious, serious matter for all of us, and we know that. And when a father or daughter calls me, I want to say, you know what? I was at a safe meeting, and you can feel secure that this industry, that this community values every life that's lost. And this community is working to make sure that that gets minimized every single day that we operate. I'm proud to be part of this community with you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Van Kearns. I'm the manager of the Regulatory Support Division. Been there right at a year, and Mel's encouragement got me to this meeting, and I'm really glad I'm here. Just in a way of a little background, 600 is responsible for the knowledge test, but we also partner with 800 and 200 on the practical test standards, developing the handbooks. So obviously 600 has a strong role. And I want to say I agree with all the core philosophies that Mel's bringing out here. I think we're partners in all the things that I'm involved in, and Mel is very supportive of that partnership. And so I have to say, first off, one of the things that I want to bring to the equation is that collaboration that Mel's talking about. I think that's one of the ways that we can move forward in the most positive way. And you guys know this, but the way I see it is we in the FAA develop standards, and then we try to validate that the standards have been met. I mean, that's what we do through certificates and oversight, and that's basically our role. And so it's not an easy role, but the point is that all the stuff in between is yours. So you guys are the ones that execute, that have the knowledge and experience. So, I just want to say that I recognize that. And so for us to be able to set valid standards, to be able to have valid approaches to measuring the compliance to those standards, it's going to take your help to make that as good as it can be. And so, the core philosophies that you guys have, and topics that you're bringing forward in this symposium, I think are right on target. Obviously, safety's at the top. Also know that you're trying to foster a community to grow more pilots with safety and capability at the top of the list of things you want pilots to have, and so that's my goal too. That's AFS 600's goal, is to participate in that in the most positive, effective way possible. So 2 weeks ago we had a gathering of some of the folks in the training industry, and some of you were there. And so I appreciate your participation there, and I appreciate the feedback I'm getting. Some of it is not as positive as I'd like for it to be, but it also gives me a chance to understand where we're at and where we can get to. And so hopefully, as we have these conversations in the future, that that will take on a more positive tone. But one of the things I shared at that meeting was that I do want to form some form of a steering group to actually look at both strategic and tactical ways to move forward, and also to include that collaboration piece, in particular with what 600 is involved in. I also think it's important that I and some of the folks in 600 are involved more broadly in things like the Joint Steering Committee and other things that Mel's involved with. So we've spent a lot of time talking about those things. So at least from a standpoint of commitment, from me and from 600, we're wanting to open the doors and kind of get you involved. And not kind of get you involved, really get you involved. And so selfishly, for me to be successful, I'm going to take advantage of all the help you're going to give me. And and in the end, if it's not something that supports your goals, then I probably haven't achieved what I'm out to achieve as well. So anyway, just an introduction to say hi, and I'm glad to be a part of the group. And please share your thoughts and ideas with me. And as we go forward today and tomorrow, I think we'll hear some more good ideas about how to move forward and develop some sort of collaborative steering activity to at least support what we in 600 do, as well as the other activities that 800 is involved in. Thank you.
Well, Mel and Van, thank you both so much, not only for speaking to us today, but sharing your time with us. It's always a kind of a letdown when you hold a party and no one comes. But we're holding a party here, and other than a few conspicuous absences, I can't think of anyone else would rather be here. And I am totally thrilled that you have come and that Van has come and Deborah's come and Tom, Susan. I think all of us, I think I could speak for every association and organization that is represented here in the room to know that, let you know that we share this very same commitment and that we are eager to work with you to make these things happen. So thank you very much.